Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Teaching English on Dروس Super Goal 3. Before we start, I would like to welcome my colleague, Mr. Salih Al-Awjan, the interpreter to the sign language. Let's start our class as always by reviewing the plan. What are we going to achieve at the end of this class, inshallah? At the end of the class, students will be able to identify what heat exhaustion is and what its symptoms are. We'll talk about the heat exhaustion and its symptoms. Also, the student will be able to write advice for some symptoms. You will have a symptom and you will be asked to write advice for the one who has this symptom. Also, the student will be able to write a list of symptoms for an illness using bullet points. Next, students will be able also to give some home remedies for common illnesses. You will give home remedies as a project that is the second part of this class. Now, as you know, we are at Unit 8, What's Wrong? The title of this unit is What's Wrong? And today we are studying the activity number 9, which is writing, activity number 10, which is project. Okay, before we start, we make a quick revision on the previous lesson. You remember last lesson we studied reading, okay? Now, the three things that are the same about colds and the flu. You remember in the previous lesson, we read a four paragraph passage, if you still remember, and this passage was about the comparison or the differences and the similarities between the flu and a cold. What are the differences and what are the similarities in the symptoms in particular? You know that both have the same symptom as you will have your nose blocked, okay, blocked nose. Your nose is closed. You cannot breathe through your nose. Also, your eyes are watery. You will have some water or tears inside your eyes. This is one of the symptoms. Also, your throat is sore. You will have pain, or your throat will have some pain. We call it sore throat. Also, you're coughing and you're sneezing constantly. If you have both the flu and a cold, you will cough and you will sneeze constantly. Okay, continuously. Now, also we have shivering. Some people also, when they have the flu or the cold, they have shivering. Like as you can see in the picture here, the body is shaking. That is the meaning of shivering. Also, the second question now, how the flu is different from the cold. Now, the characteristics that we are going to tell now is special for the flu. These are the symptoms only for the flu. What are they? When people have the flu, they can have a high fever. When you have high fever, that is an indicator of what? Flu or cold? That is the flu, correct. Okay, so you have high temperature or high fever when you have the flu. They can have severe muscle aches and pains. You will feel that your body aches. Your body has pain, okay, like this. Every part of your body aches, okay? So this is one of the symptoms that you have in the flu. The flu can cause pneumonia and kill its victims. Sometimes the flu is dangerous. Why? Because it affects the lungs. So you have something called pneumonia, that is a disease that affects the lung, okay, or the two lungs. As you can see here, these are the two lungs, and you can see some viruses inside the lung. That is called pneumonia. It is called pneumonia. Okay, and it might cause also death. Okay, and there are vaccines for that. There are vaccines for the flu, but not for the cold. You cannot get vaccine for the cold, but for the flu you can get. Okay, no vaccines for the cold, but there is a vaccine for the flu. Now let's take another slide now, talking about a cold and a flu in another way. Sore throat. Do you think this symptom is in a person who has a cold or the flu? in both have sore throat. Okay, what about cough? If you have cough, that is an indicator that you might have a cold or the flu. No difference. Fever, is it in a cold or in the flu? Only in the flu. If you have a fever, that is an indicator of the flu. Chills, what do you think? It's only for the flu. What is chills? Chills when your body is feeling cold, very cold. Okay, pains and aches only if you have the flu. Runny and stuffy nose, okay, only in a cold. When you have a closed nose or a blocked nose, you have only a cold. Okay, now we move to our main class of today, that is writing. Okay, what are we going to learn in the writing? Let's read the instructions here in A. Read about heat exhaustion. What is heat exhaustion? That is what you are going to understand when you read the following bullet points. Okay, and you will find out more, and we will come back to explain what are the characteristics of the heat exhaustion and how to write about heat exhaustions. Let's listen now and find out.
Writing. A. Read about heat exhaustion. Have a class discussion. What are the symptoms? Are there any other symptoms? Do you agree with the advice? Do you have any other advice? Do you feel dizzy and weak? Are you sweating a lot? Do your muscles ache? Do you feel like vomiting? When you spend too many hours in the hot sun, you can suffer from heat exhaustion. For relief, follow this advice.
Okay, so let's read again in more details. Now read about the heat exhaustion. The heat exhaustion, when you expose your body to the sun in particular, or to a high temperature, that is called heat exhaustions. That might affect your body, and when you lose much liquid or many liquids from your body. Have a class discussion. You will discuss what heat exhaustion is. What are the symptoms when you have the heat exhaustions? What are the symptoms? What do you know about this kind of illness? Are there any other symptoms? Are there any more symptoms that you can tell if a person has heat exhaustion? Do you agree with the advice? You will have some advice now, but do you agree with it or not? Do you have any other advice? If you know more about the heat exhaustion, do you think that you are able to give more advice? This is what you need to think about. Okay? Now the symptoms that we are going to tell is dizziness, weakness, sweating, muscle aches, and vomiting. These are the symptoms that usually appear on the person who has heat exhaustion. Okay, now we will ask some questions about your information now. Do you feel dizzy and weak? If you feel dizzy, that means when you are not controlling yourself, feeling that you are about to fall down, that is a dizziness. And weakness, when you feel that your body is not strong enough to stand and to work and to do some activities. Okay, look at here. This is the picture of dizziness and weakness. Okay. Are you sweating a lot? Sweating when the liquid, liquid come out from your body, that is sweating. Look at the girl here. Her face is sweating. There are drops of water now on her face. That means she is losing liquids. Okay. Also, do your muscles ache? Your body muscles. You know, your body is. There are so many muscles in your body. In case that you feel pain or ache in your body, like this one here, this indicates that there are pain in all over the body. That is an indicator of the heat exhaustion. Do you feel like vomiting? When you are about to vomit or to throw up, okay, you feel that your stomach is about to, you want to empty your stomach, that is the vomiting. Like here, this picture indicates that this person is feeling nausea. We call it nausea. That is the feeling of vomiting, or the feeling that the need for vomiting. Okay, when you spend too many hours in the hot sun, you can suffer from heat exhaustion. So this is what we started with. if you expose yourself to the sun or to a heat temperature and you sweat a lot, that is the indicator of having the heat exhaustion. What is the solution for this? For relief, follow this advice. Now we're going to talk about some advice about the heat exhaustion. Okay, these are the pictures that indicate that a person is exposing himself or herself to the sun, which is very dangerous. That might cause the heat exhaustion. Okay, you're going to learn some tips, or we call it advice, pieces of advice. Now let's listen before we read in details and try to find out what the meaning of this advice or this advice.
1. You should get out of the sun. Find a cool or air-conditioned place. 2. Take a cool shower or bath. You can also spray cool water on your skin. 3. You should drink plenty of water, but don't drink quickly. You should drink small amounts slowly. 4. You should rest. Lie down and put your feet up. This prevents shock or fainting. 5. If the symptoms continue, you should see a doctor.
Okay, now let's read them one by one. You should get out of the sun. Find a cool air-conditioned place. In case that you expose yourself to the sun, as we said before, you need to get out of the sun and find a well-conditioned or air-conditioned place. Like as you can see here, this is a picture of air conditioner, and usually the air conditioner gives a low temperature. This is very important to take yourself from the sun to this place. Also, take a cool shower. Also, you need to take a cool shower or a bath. Okay, then you can also spray cool water on your skin. If you cannot, if you don't have a chance to take a shower, you can spray water on your body. You spray water on your body to cool it, to make it cooler. Okay, this is the picture of a shower or a bath. You should drink plenty of water. Also, you need to drink much water, but be careful. Don't drink quickly. You should drink small amounts slowly. When you are very thirsty and you feel that you need to drink water, don't drink quickly. You need to drink a small amount, or don't drink quickly. And here we stop with the directions or the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he asked us to drink sibs, or we call it small amounts. When you want to drink 3 amounts of water. Okay, that was a long time ago, and the science now proved that this is the best way to drink. Not to drink very quickly in one time. You have to separate it into at least 3 times. Okay. Next, also you should rest. Okay. Of course, when you feel heat exhaustion, you feel tired, you feel exhausted, and you want to rest. So this is very important to rest. And also you need to lie down. To lie down on your back. But when you lie down, put your feet up. You can put your feet up, like as you can see in the picture here. Look at the guy here. He is lying down and he's putting his feet up. Okay. Why are you advised to do that? Because this prevents shock or fainting, not to lose your conscience, not to be fainted, not to lose your ability to be aware of the world around you. That is what we mean by fainting. Also, it is if the symptoms continue, you should see a doctor. If you continue with the same symptoms and all these tips didn't help you, you have to see a doctor. You have to go to a hospital or a clinic to see a doctor. Okay? Now, we will move now to a very important part of our writing today, how to write a bullet point writing. Okay? Bullet points, as you can see here, the bullet point here, this is considered as a bullet point. We usually use it when we count things. Okay? The bullet point help make a list of clear and simple to read. If you want to count things, okay, and you want it to be clear for the reader, you use the bullet point. Like what? For example, when there is a list of ingredients in a recipe, when you want to make a recipe, you want to cook food, okay, and you want to list the ingredients, the things that are needed for the meal or for the food that you are going to make, you are recommended to use the bullet point, okay, in a recipe, or a list of symptoms for illness. Also, if you want to talk about an illness, for example, and you want to list or to name the symptoms for this illness, it's better to use the bullet point as here. This is one shape of the bullet points. There are so many shapes for that, okay, but this is the most common one. Okay, number 2, when there is a list of instructions or steps to follow in a certain order, it's better to use numbers and not bullet points. When you talk about things that are in sequence, you need to use numbers instead of bullet points, because the number indicate the steps in order, the chronological order of doing these steps. Number 3, with short phrases or words, don't use punctuation after each bullet point. When you are writing, for example, when you want to make a recipe and you want to list the ingredients, you are going to name the ingredients. Like when you want to make kabsa, for example, you will tell that you need onion, you need rice, you need water, you need salt, you need tomato, you need so many things. So in this case, you are not writing full sentences. So you don't need punctuation. You don't need to put a full stop. But in case you are writing a full sentence, you need to put a full stop. Okay? When there is a complete sentence, as we said, all sentences use the correct punctuation. Okay, now we move to B, to compare or to make advice for the symptoms. Let's read here what's written in exercise B. What are some common symptoms of the flu? We talked about flu, if you still remember, in this lesson and in the previous lesson. What are the common symptoms that we have in these two illnesses, or this illness that is the flu? Write them in the chart. How can you relieve the symptoms? Write notes in the advice column. Now we're going to make a list of the symptoms, and you need to think and to give advice for this person who has this symptom. Like here, number 1, muscle ache. And we said that the muscle ache usually associated with the body that is hurting, pains in the body that is associated with the flu. So here, muscle aches, if you advise, you say rest in bed. For example, if somebody has a muscle ache, that is an indicator of the flu, so you ask or you tell to rest in bed. Next, if a person says, I have a blocked nose, how do you advise him or her? What do you say? Think of advice that you can tell. Blow your nose often. You can tell like that. Blow your nose often. Next, sore throat. If a person has a sore throat, how do you advise him or her? You can say like this one. This is just an example, but for sure you have your own advice. Drink warm liquids. You can tell to drink warm liquids if a person has sore throat. If a person has shivering, you know what shivering is that we mentioned a while ago? Shivering, that the body is shaking because of pain or because of the low temperature that the body has. You can tell like this, take a hot shower. You can advise a person who has shivering by saying take a hot shower. Okay, now we move to exercise C. What should you do when you have the flu? Now you need to write a paragraph or an article about the flu. Write about it. Use your notes from the chart and other ideas from this unit. Use bullet points for the symptoms or the advice. Now we wrote about the symptoms and advice about the flu. This will help you a lot to write a paragraph about the flu, what the symptoms are, and also what the advice that you need to give for these symptoms. Okay? Now we move to the second part of our class today, that is a project. What do you need in this project? The project here says, research home remedies for common illnesses. For sure, everybody has his own remedies at home, maybe your mothers, your grandmothers in particular, give some remedies for some illnesses, and they are very useful most of the time. What are these remedies? Do you remember some of these remedies? You need to write about them. Present your remedies to the class and discuss them. This is very important and very useful also to transfer your knowledge to your classmates or to your friends about the remedies or the solutions for some illnesses. Like if you have the flu or you have a cold, you have sometimes home remedies. You have, for example, ginger, you have lemon, you have honey, and some of these kinds of remedies. You need to present them. You ask your mother or your grandmother or your father even, and they will tell you how you can present it to your class. This is very useful, helpful, and a good practice of speaking and presentation. Okay? Now, how to stop runny nose at home. If somebody tells you that I have a runny nose, that means my nose is running and this is annoying me, how do you advise him or her? Are there any home remedies that you can tell? Let's find out some of these. Like this one here, look at him, the picture here. This indicates that the nose is running, okay? You can ask, or you can tell, drink plenty of fluids. That will help, okay? You can ask also, you can tell facial steam. You can have facial steam. You can see here, you have a kind of liquid water with some ingredients, and you boil it. When you boil the water, there is steam coming out of this water, and you smell it. That will help also. This is one of the common home remedies that we do at home. Okay, hot shower. Also, you can get a hot shower if you are feeling chill or if you are feeling cold. Your body is cold. Okay, this is a hot shower. Or eating some spicy food. If you are feeling cold or chill, the spicy food will help to increase the body temperature, and this will help you to relieve. Okay. There is also an application for the writing that you are going to find on page 122 in your workbook. This is very important and very useful. Exercise F on page 122, write about the last time you were sick. Now we are going to talk about your experience, yourself. Okay, that is a narrative writing. So you will tell what your experience is. Where were you? These questions will help you to remember and to organize your ideas. Let's read the questions again. Where were you? How did you feel? Okay, this is very important also to tell your feeling. What did you do? What were the solutions or the remedies that you had? What advice do you have for a person who gets sick? You can end your paragraph with a conclusion or with an ending, closing sentence that tells a person who has the same experience as you have, and tell him or her the best solution or the best solution for this problem. Now, when I was sick, you see here, this is the title of this paragraph. Let's have this example for this writing as an example, but for sure you can have your own. Let's read it very quickly here. Last month, I was sick. You see here, it is very important to specify from the very beginning the time, the setting. When was that? When this happened? Last month. And who is this writing going to be about? About the speaker himself. So last month I was sick. I had a cold. Okay, this is the problem also. This is answering some of the questions that we say: when, how, what, okay, and who. I coughed and sneezed a lot. That are the indications of the flu. My father was very upset about me. I drank hot liquids, but my sickness was still. Okay, look at how the sentences are short and clear. So my father took me to the hospital. Okay, his father took him to the hospital. The doctor advised. You see here, this is the doctor speech. You notice here it is between quotation marks. Take this medicine, relax for 1 week, and make your body stronger by cleaning, by eating healthy food. If you eat healthy food, that will make your body stronger. You will be better. This is also between quotation, which indicates that this is what the doctor has said. He said, after I followed up the instructions, my sickness disappeared. It was a terrible time. Now he's telling us about his experience, but when it comes to you to write, you need to add your advice for the reader, what to do in case he or she has the same experience as yours. Okay? Now before we end our class, let's review some of the vocabulary that we had in our class today. The first one here is a verb, to shake slightly because you feel cold or ill. When your body shake, okay, like this girl here, she's shaking now. What is it? We call it shiver, to shiver. Let's read the example. If you are shivering, then you have influenza. This is one of the indicators or the symptoms of influenza. To pass a disease from one person to another. To pass the disease, that is the infection we talked about in our previous lesson, if you still remember. What is the word? Starting with T, try to remember it. That's to transmit. To transmit means to move a disease or an illness or an infection from you to another person. A person sneezing transmits the infection through the air. Okay, this is how the word transmit appeared in the text. A noun starting with D. Think of the word and try to remember it. An automatic way of behaving which you protect yourself from something. What is the automatic way of behaving which you protect yourself from something? We know that in our body we have a system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in it to protect us or to let us avoid some dangerous diseases or illnesses. What do you call it? You call it defense mechanism. That is defense mechanism. That is the defense system to protect our body from illnesses. Even if you don't get medicine, you will have in your body a defense system. That is, you studied it in your school in science subject. That is the role of the blood cells, the white blood cells. That is the immune system, or that is the defense system. As you can see it here, defense mechanism. Okay, how did it appear? The body's own defense mechanism need to fight the viruses. Okay, and the last word for today, to develop new physical characteristics because of a change in the genes. Okay, sometimes genes of the viruses change, as we are having these days with COVID-19, when it changed into Omicron. What do you call this? Starting with M, we call it mutate. To mutate means to change from one gene to another gene in the virus. Let's read it in an example. There are more than 80 different constantly mutating rhinoviruses. So the problem in the virus that it sometimes mutate. It mutates from one gene to another gene, which makes it difficult to have some immunizations or vaccines for that. And by this, we come to the end of our class today. Thank you for watching, and see you inshallah in our next episode. Goodbye.